Hi, welcome to Culture of Paint. In this episode, we're going to take a look back over the last couple of weeks at what's caught our eye in the miniatures painting world. For the main segment, we're joined by a very special guest, Martin Peterson. We're going to talk all about heavy metal and painting every day to a display level. And we'll close out the show, as usual, taking a look at what the hashtag Paint Cultists have been up to. Our Culture of Paint's aimed at a mature audience. We might use adult language and discuss adult themes. Now let's talk about paint. Still waiting for the 3, 2, 1 from Matt, but I'm assuming because we haven't got that we must be live anyway.
Yep.
Wonderful. So smooth. Thanks for that. Okay,
Did you not hear me?
Return that
No, I didn't either.
Favour. So that's slick.
Talking to myself.
Hi everyone. What a wonderful, auspicious start to the new channel. I'm Henry. Joining me as usual are Matt, Andy, and Rich. And tonight we've got a very special guest, Martin. Hello, chaps. How are we?
Yeah.
All good, mate.
Look at that.
Good.
What a handsome lineup, eh? Bad at all. And we've got the chatting. In fact, I think a load of you have managed to make it over to the new home, as it were. I'd love to see some familiar names in there. And we've even got Todd up at about, God knows what time it is over there in the morning, from Oz to say hello. We've got a couple of the Swedes in. Lovely, standard. And Chris is here just for the intro music. So thanks for joining us, Chris. Hopefully we'll see you in a couple of weeks' time.
Ciao.
So let's crack on. Normal start. What's caught our eye over the last couple of weeks?
So first up is
it's me. So where's Andy's screen? I want to see Andy's face. There it is. There's his face. So I picked this model for two reasons. One was to get that reaction from Andy and see what he thinks of it. And the other reason was because I actually really like it. So me and Andy have spoken about this many a time over the last, since Sigmarines were around, because it was Sigmarines came out and everyone automatically went, true scale Space Marines, and stuck backpacks and bolters on them. And it split the community, shall we say. And a fair representation of that was mine and Andy's opinion of it. Whereas mine was like, that's quite cool. Grim dark paint job. I quite like that. It's kind of fun. Make some big miners. And Andy, what's your view on it, Andy?
This one's fine. but if you stick Sigmarine legs on a Space Marine, it's not true scale. All right, it's just that.
It's more true scale than just sticking Terminator legs on one, isn't it?
I was going to say that was that era when everyone was getting Terminator legs, and then he had these arms this long. It's like, come on. But this one's really great. But I think it's great because he's kept the helmet, whereas normally it's just you bung some legs in, and also things like the purity seal really sell it. So no, this one works for sure. But if you're going to do this, put some effort in, people. Come on.
Yeah, so I agree with kind of what Andy said. The little bits like the grenades and keeping the original helmet. It is just a really cool, slightly dark, grim dark style Space Marine scheme, and obviously it's a Space Marine, so I like it. And it caught my eye. I thought, that's quite cool, and I thought it'd be a good talking point as we disagree a bit on it, shall we say? So yeah,
this one's fine. It's a good work.
This one's okay. Hey, Mr. Zygmunt, you got Andy's tick of approval on a true scale Space Marine. So,
but is it true scale or is it just a conversion? You don't have to say true scale.
No, but I just do it on purpose because I knew exactly when I said true scale, you were going to say something.
Yeah. In fact, it's not true because it's too long, right? So it's long scale.
So it's a long scale Marine. But yeah, that's my pick.
Well, that was quite something. There we go. you two finished that little marathon.
It's one of my triggers, man. It's a big one.
The account, Mr. Zygmunt, I don't know this one. All the accounts, as usual, they'll be down in the description for you to check out and follow if you want. This paint job's freaking awesome.
It's cool.
I'm following this person right now. This is right up my street.
Yeah, you'd really like their whole profile, mate. It's very much up your alley.
I'll have a look on their account while you're talking later. It's I love it. The presentation's fab as well. I love that that background. That's very, very, very exciting.
Is that going to be your new background, Brown?
And I don't know. It's just the whole
nice,
thing. I really like when people present their minis well.
Is it brown just on this mini because to match the base?
I don't know. That's it. You're gonna have to go and have a look at the account. But I love the purity seals. Love all of that. That's lovely. It's delicious. Right.
Yep.
What's up next, Matt?
No, next up is.
Look at that. Just perfect.
I nearly sent you this. I was like,
absolute perfection. So yeah, I came across this account a few months ago when they were doing their Kickstarter for their little mushroom folk. And yeah, what can I say? I mean, it's a cracking paint job for one. It's unusual. I love the boss on the shield. It's just cool. It's just super cool. And it looks like it's got a funky sort of wood and maybe resined up base, like plinth as well. I just think it's brilliant. I'd love to do something like this. I really, really would.
How big is that? Because I'm thinking it could potentially be to scale, right?
I think it might be bigger.
Right.
Well, if the mushrooms are anything to go by, they were like that. They were big.
They normally
they were chunky.
Yeah. Their stuff's normally pretty big, if memory serves.
But you're right. We don't have the dirty thumb or something in the.
It's the one mini where we need one of those pennies when people put a penny next to
a yeah, with a penny and a tweezer.
Cool. We don't need a penny next to a marine, guys.
Penny with a tweezer. Yeah. It's just funny when you are doing subjects like this that you could potentially do it in like 1-to-1 scale. I guess if you're doing mushrooms and snails and frogs and stuff, I'd see that as like a nice opportunity to actually do that.
We've got a really cool piece in at the commission studio at the minute that isn't dissimilar to the mushroom project, and it's a little bit smaller. And I think that's a really cool idea to sort of. Well, mind you, was it last episode or the one before that person had literally just sculpted a couple of fungus?
That was the base on it.
And painted it. No, I think that was just literally a. I don't know what you'd call it, an exercise in.
Oh, that's what I mean. A base of mushrooms, wasn't it?
Oh, sorry. Yeah. It wasn't to go anything. But yeah, the more I look at this, the more I like it. And that's 2 in a row now that I wish I could have done. So it's a good start to the show. And yeah, really, really love this account. I only came across it fairly recently, so been enjoying following them. Right, we got next.
Next up is.
Yeah, this is my pick.
Great account.
Yeah, right. I
love this one.
Yeah, I love everything that they do. And it's I just think it's a great example of kind of what you can do that is more than a miniature, but not necessarily like a ton of extra work. It's not about creating the best paint job you've ever seen and a large base and sort of creating like a diorama as some sort of a next level thing, but rather as a different thing, as a great idea. And obviously, like, it's completely obvious what it is to anyone that's seen The Lord of the Rings. If you haven't and you're watching this podcast, who are you? But
this is Lord of the Rings, is it?
Oh.
I had no idea. I thought that's cool.
I'm very sorry. It's not. Anyway. So
is this Gollum? Is it Gollum?
It's Gollum in his cave.
I believe that's Conrad Curse in his no. So
it's not going to help either, mate. Sorry.
I think mainly, like, more than anything, I just thought this would be a good opportunity to give a shout out to whoever this is, to them. And there's another account called HVM Workbench, which they both do similar. Yeah. Which is like
wonderful Lord of the Rings stuff.
They're fantastic, and it's kind of similar to what you were just saying, Henry. About every time I see this, I'm like, man, I wish I did that. And it's not like I wish I could paint as well, or I wish I could sculpt as well. It's just I wish I was that creative and had those ideas. I'm really inspired by that stuff. I think it's awesome.
And now we've got a pot and a pencil for scale, so we can see how crazy tiny this is.
I like how they've done the angle on the water to get that perspective into the background. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, cool.
And it's nice to just do the backdrop with the light coming down, because obviously you can't have. I mean, like physical rays of light sculpted, but it works really well with the zenithal highlight on the miniature itself, and that like extreme contrast. It just looks really good. The whole thing is like painted in a really small kind of color scheme, but that works well too.
I almost can't work out what it would look like in real life, which I really like about it, if you know what I mean. So like the perspective is done so well. I can't quite figure out exactly what it would look like, which is cool.
Yeah, it's super cool. Really nice pick. Right, what we got up next?
Up next.
All right, I picked this one, a GW Mini, straight off the website. I don't know. I don't know if I've ever done that before, but I think this.
Because I want to talk about how awesome it is. Go ahead, Andy.
I think it's basically perfect. I think the sculpt's incredible. I think it's one of the best faces I've seen come out of GW. I think the pose is spot on. Also, I'm presuming that even though it's only a small bit of base, but they wouldn't make a base. So it must come with a base like that because they don't add stuff right for the box art. So it must have its own little base, which is super cool.
There's a lot more tufts though, isn't there, in these photos?
Yeah.
Like I noticed when they did the larger shot of like the in situ shot, there was a lot more tufts and stuff around, but I don't recall seeing as many little tufts like this and varying like lengths as well on them.
Colours and stuff, yeah.
And the base rim's a different colour, right? Is it not? Is it darker?
It's a nice colour.
It's really nice. Like it's horrible actually, but it works really well. Like it's like a sort of
one of the
really like it. I wonder if it's one of those change points that we've talked about in the past, where it's just been that slight stylistic shift of things.
Is this for like the
Sigmar? I felt like it. Yeah, I mean it's the first Empire. I've been like, that's one of my favorite things ever. Normally I'm like, yeah, Empire's fine, but this I just can't see anything I would change. You know, sometimes you're like, oh, we wish this mini had this. This is absolute perfection. The paint job's pretty insane as well. There's subtle texture. The freehand's just right. I don't know. You can help me out. I'm struggling to articulate how good everything is on this. The face in particular, I think, as a sculpt, compared to like, I don't know, an old Space Marine face, which I'm not a fan of. This just looks really, really great.
Good options too, right?
God, everyone's trying to get on it.
Well done, lads. Slick.
I was going to say the features, they seem larger on the face than normal. But like better scale, if that makes sense.
I was going to say I thought it was a Lord of the Rings mini because it's so well sculpted.
Yeah, I agree. I thought the same. Yeah.
So yes, go ahead, Rich. Andy.
I wasn't going to say anything. I was actually going to say, Martin, can you give us some info on this? You've got the inside scoop.
Yeah, I mean, I wanna. So the nice thing is that they've shown the Cities of Sigmar stuff for a while now. Like they've been teasing it out, and it is, and also they did that. They did some previews of just sculpted stuff, and then when they did that, we were like, cool. You've said the word Cities of Sigmar now. We can officially confirm that it exists finally, because it is like genuinely one of the coolest projects that I've worked on and that I've seen for AOS, and I think a lot of people have been just waiting for like regular people. I think one of the nicest things about it is when we've seen so much like the kind of the Luminate stuff, the Idonet stuff, the Chaos stuff, the Seraphon, and then it's like, well, what's the thing with these people? It's like, they're just people. Their clothes are made of cloth and leather, and they wear weapons of like iron and steel, and everything is what it looks like. So the things that look like they're probably wood, they're probably wood, and so everything is like incredibly relatable and grounded and simple. This particular miniature was painted by Max, and he's good at his job. I think that freehand is really, really good.
like you said, and yeah, you've seen the options, fortunately, and the squire that you get with him as well.
And great to see that the detailing on the cloak is free-handed on.
Yes, I agree.
I think I completely understand why we get it sculpted on, but I think all of us on here enjoy it more and often shave it off when it does come with it on.
And I can confirm that it's been kind of frustrating for a lot of people on heavy metal sometimes when you get those sculpted details, because you kind of stuck edge highlighting the two sides of like basically a piece of string, and it's just like, well, this could just have been painted on quite easily, actually.
It just looks bad, doesn't it? Like, when even if you do a great job of painting the sculpted on detail, it doesn't feel right. I think I
don't know how to paint it sometimes either. Right?
Like Martin said, you have to kind of just edge highlight like the two bits.
But even like understanding the material of it. So like some stuff I did is it called a surplice? Like it's like a really big cape bit one of the Sisters of Battle's got, but it only goes round the top here.
Sure.
Yeah, I don't really know what it's called, but it's got really quite thick, detailed like fleur-de-lis banding and stuff around it.
Yeah.
And I decided just to paint it metallic as if it was actually very thin, metal on there kind of thing. And I didn't mind it. I actually think it looks all right. But there's other ones I've had where I'm not sure if that is the right way to do it. Is that what it's representing, or is it just embossed material? No, is embossed the right word? Whatever the other word is for that, the opposite of embossed. It's just confusing.
Embroidered or like
embroidered? Yeah, it's just hard to do. But it's just there's just nothing wrong with this mini.
No. 10 out of 10.
I think it's perfect too, and the options are amazing. They've shown a few, I know, but it's so cool that you can put a shield in his left hand and it just fits perfectly under that cape.
It's crazy, man.
Yeah, it's brilliant. And you can give him like two guns. I think you can even have the shield in either the left or right hand, and then the sword in either the left or right hand, which is
no way.
Is it? Yeah, cool. It's the same combo, but you can build it two different ways. It's incredible. It's like
I have to paint.
Yeah, it's
very exciting. It's very, and you saying about you think the sculpt of the face is really, really good. I wonder if, as we've already seen, a lot of the city stuff, that set of knights we saw as well at Warhammer Fest that was revealed. I wonder if they're almost taking it as an opportunity to level ups. Not quite what I mean, but as a real opportunity to get stuck into the faces.
It is a level up.
I think that's a pretty good interpretation, actually. Yeah, I would say from having been part of that project, that sounds about right. It really is like a really good consistency across the whole range. Everything looks really good. So it's like a high standard, a great consistency, and it's another project where like diversity was taken very seriously from the start. And was kind of part of the whole project, which is also really nice that it's not kind of an afterthought at any point. So it was really solid. It's just it's kind of like the Cadian stuff as well. It's like these are all humans. We know what we're doing.
Dan's just saying in the chat, the squire that goes with this he loves. Is it the first ever Warhammer mini of a child/teenager? No,
Peasants?
Dan. There's some pretty horrific screaming children in the Lord of the Rings range.
Really?
What's his name? Bard the Bowman's kids. They're running away screaming, which in and of itself is pretty dark, but it's particularly dark when all the Night Lords players get hold of them, as I've seen on several occasions now to make objective markers and things. And then, funnily enough, this week, the same sort of an old world article, all right? So not a Cities of Sigmar, but the precursors, if you will, to it. Of course, there's the Bretonian trebuchet, which has got the young lad on his wheelbarrow, isn't it? Which looks like it's coming back. So there we go.
Woo!
But it is just really cool. Like everything, it feels like there's been an awful lot of effort gone into this one. Like this what we've seen as cities so far. And I don't really feel like anything's been missed. So I think there's a lot of a lot of anticipation from a lot of people now for whenever it is autumn. I think they said on the roadmap, summer, autumn, something like that.
Like Martin said, it's really cool to see that, you know, the humans are actually getting a really good faction for once. As you know, I really like all the other races that are out there, but I've always liked the idea of, similar to like with Guard, same appeal as Guard in 40k. You know, when there are giant crocodiles with hammers the same weight as your car, and undead like lightning warriors in gold armor, there's still just like a dude with a shield and a sword and testicles that you have to carry around in a wheelbarrow. You know.
Yeah, for sure. Well, hopefully when it gets released, we can do an episode on sort of the normal man and woman of the wargaming world. You know,
I think it's what the simple thing to me about having humans is that you can't really call a space marine big unless you know what normal is, unless you have something that's normal, like regular sized. They're not actually big if the only other thing around is an orc.
Yeah.
True.
Exactly. And we've seen that a lot recently with all these weird and wonderful sort of niche Imperium releases for 40k and a lot of different cultists for Chaos recently. And all of a sudden it makes your Chaos Marines and your Primaris, you know, things like that look like the Black Library versions of them. And it would be really cool to have that. And I think it can only make the other things look better. Like it'll make the Stormcast look more heroic. It'll make the
for sure.
orcs look more terrifying. Super cool. Right, we've got a couple more picks.
I double dipped, I think.
One more.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's the last commended article went up, didn't it? Was that today or yesterday? I think
it did.
The last round.
I wanted to show this jewel because I thought it was one of my favorites, and just like really nice use of not simple miniatures, but like not big characters, you know, just like an orc brute and a whatchamacallit, not a witch.
Daughter Kane.
Help me out.
Sister of something.
Dark elf with a whip. It's really nice, and it's what I'd like to see in Duel. It's tight, it's dynamic, it's not two people, you know, looking at each other with a lamppost in the middle, stuff like that. So, yeah, I think it's really cool.
Yeah, no, super cool. Right, so final pick.
No, I didn't get time to do one this week.
Oh, well, there we are then. That's right.
Matthew.
But you did have time for meme of the week. Yeah, have you been busy or something, Matt?
It's been
downloading and editing.
It's
every single show.
It's been a few days.
So, but we do have what's meme of the week? Oh God,
I did get sent one.
I picked meme of the week.
Oh no,
It's good.
To do with painting?
It's not bad.
Yes.
It's not bad.
It's heartfelt. It's heartfelt and it's heartwarming and emotional.
It's going to tug on those heartstrings for sure. Ready?
Come on. Yeah. Oh yeah, it is. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Honestly,
Like
the first time I saw this,
Yeah.
I'm not even joking. I was like, fuck. Like, obviously I didn't cry or anything, but I was like, God, that actually hit me a lot harder than I was expecting it to.
Yeah.
Actually,
Just
Daz's post got me when he put like his post of the dreadnought he painted, which I think is this Crimson Fist one with the freehand on. I was like, is it going? Like, is this done?
Yeah, it's done. The mighty Boxnaut is no longer viable, available, or playable with anymore. It is officially going.
You'll get that Legends rule thing they talk about. So you'll get you'll get a thing for it, and then it'll never get updated or changed. Updated.
But the model itself will be no more.
Needs to be
no more.
So step up.
When you say it will be, I mean it's currently temporarily out of stock online. Can I assume that it's actually gone then?
Yeah.
Well, it's pretty much. I think when they put it up there as last chance to buy, everybody of a certain vintage within the hobby went, "Oh my god, it's going forever," and bought one. So they're now actually it's actually gone.
We can probably assume that those were the last ones. It's not getting
Did it go up to last chance to buy, or was it just the article saying it was? It did go up last.
No, it was up.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's a whole. I think it did. Yeah, there was a whole bunch of them from that article, and this was because it was them, the old Terminators, and the old Stern Guard veterans.
Stern Guard, yeah.
I've seen a lot of people get very angry, and I'm just there like, well, it's been around for 20 years nearly. Like, if you haven't bought one by now, then you probably were never going to buy one.
Like the hobby crowd are a fickle, very like nostalgic group of people. Like they are distinctly, you know, they like the old.
There's a
world,
meme
like
for that. I'll find them the best meme ever.
Look, it's not complicated. We want a new kit every week, maybe 5 or 6 every week, but also for nothing to ever change. I mean, why is that so hard to understand?
What's the meme where it's like, we're unhappy with everything, but we want nothing to change, or something like that. It's literally like it's perfect. I'll find it. It'll be meme of the week.
Yeah. But yeah, this was picked as it was a monumental moment, I think in our hobby.
It's huge.
Lives.
I've got some cheesy goodbye music in my head. As I'm thinking about.
So hopefully in a couple of years' time, we'll get a Heresy release will come out where they'll redo it,
Ironclad,
and we'll get him back.
Oh,
yeah, well, the Ironclad, the Ironclad's gone, but the Venerable one hasn't gone. I think, if I remember rightly.
So yeah. The Venerable is still available, and then also all the versions for the chapter specific ones. So like the Space Wolf ones, Blood Angels, Librarian ones, they're all still available. But the OG, the best, it's gone.
Ironclad.
Just any time I see him now, it's that first Dawn of War opening cinematic that we got.
Yeah.
What's the funniest line that the Dreadnought says?
Well, I saw my favorite one was "Even in death, I still serve," and they put that, and someone made a meme out of it where it just said "Not anymore."
I like the one of him playing Wimbledon, saying that.
Yeah.
But it is. It's sad, but I'm sure we'll talk a little bit more. We haven't done a Space Marines episode for a while. I'm sure we'll do another one soon. But yeah, Stuart's saying it makes you feel old. I mean, this one's been around. I mean, this must be was this the second plastic iteration of this kit, or did it only ever get one plastic kit plus the
only one,
the easy build one from?
I think this is the only one.
Right.
Yeah.
So, Black Reach. It was never that good, was it? It was never amazing. Like they never had like a really good plastic kit. It was always all right.
Well, yeah, because it was 20 plus years old, right?
But also that's because they kept doing other, like instead of doing another regular Dreadnought, they did the Blood Angels one, the Space Wolves one, the Venerable one, the Ironclad one. So those were, I guess, the new.
That terrible Librarian one.
It's it's the same as the Mark 7 helmet, really, isn't it? It's an incredibly iconic thing, shape, silhouette, look, everything. Going to be weird, but I'm sure there are literally millions of them lay around.
Hey, we got Terminators there.
Chat to your mate you were at school with that you play Warhammer with who doesn't play it anymore, and he's probably got 7 of them in a box somewhere. So don't worry about it. The old metal one, Luke. I mean, that was the original Warhammer weapon. Was the Dreadnought wielded in a sock? Yeah. People don't know what rage quitting
is. We've all
is.
been there, right? We've all been there.
See that. Right. So, main topic time. Heavy Metal Masterclass. So, Martin is joining us to have a little chat around what it was like being an heavy metal painter, but what it's also, what that entails. We're not going to be getting anyone in trouble here, so we haven't got to worry about anything like that. But also how you get to that point and where you go after that point as well, right? So I guess we might as well start it out. We won't go all the way back of how did you get into the hobby and all of that, but how did you make the transition from very good amateur painter, for want of a better term, to, I'm in Nottingham, painting in the most famous miniatures studio in the world?
Well, I mean, really, like the kind of how I got into heavy metal and how I got into the hobby is actually kind of related, because I did think about it since like a week after starting to painting miniatures. I saw those 2 words and I just was like, well, this is a thing, I guess. And it was always kind of on my mind. And I know
for a lot of people, that was either like the highest kind of achievement possible, or it's just kind of a, well, that's not for me because I have another side of the hobby. And I think it was always I had the idea that like you don't want to work with your hobby. It was going to ruin it for me, and it wasn't for me. But then between being like starting the hobby and then joining Eavy Metal, I also met a lot of other guys who are really good painters, including Max and Stian and those guys. And then we did our whole thing where we painted together pretty much every day. And one thing that came out of that was Max joining the Eavy Metal team. So that's, I mean, really, that is the short, simple answer. Is like I started working there because he did, because he told me about it. And it was a little bit like we'd been trying to get good enough to maybe potentially one day, maybe in some sort of weird dimension, try to apply for a job. And then once he started working there, he was like, I think we're there. I think you should apply now. And I did, and and I got the job. So it was really just a case of kind of like, well, I guess this is more possible than I thought it was, maybe slightly more possible, and then taking one tiny step at a time until it was like, do you want to do this? And I was like, yeah, I guess so. And then I did.
What year was that you started?
That was 2017.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I completely forgot what Henry was actually asking. I'm just talking now. I started in 2017, which is, I guess, 45 years ago now. So, something like that.
Do you remember what the first project you worked on?
I do.
Was?
Yeah. It was the Ideneth Deepkin, and I did the back of box units for both of the infantry units, which I for some reason can't remember now. It's the
Swordmen
the Namarti Thralls and the Reavers, I think. So I did both of those units kind of back to back, which was really cool. It was really nice to work on not just like new models, but a new project with the whole team. Everyone was doing Ideneth at the time, and it was a great kind of crash course in like how do you create something when there is nothing else to go on? How do you create a color scheme when you have nothing to look at? Because like wherever you are in the hobby, chances are that whatever you're painting, you're gonna see what's on the box. So maybe you're completely disinterested in how that's painted, and you're like, no, that's not for me, but you're still gonna look at it, right? You've still seen it, but here it's complete, it's bare plastic, and it's like, right, make it cool. And that was terrifying, but I quickly realized that that's the best part of the job as well. It's that collaboration and that creativity, and there's so much that's all about just like lore and IP and talking about where they fit into the world in a big room full of nerds who only care about this stuff. So yeah, literally the best part.
Yeah, and I guess Age of Sigmar, coming in at what would have been very early on in the Age of Sigmar. I think the Ideneth were possibly the first. If you don't count the Stormcast, I think Ideneth were maybe the first sort of truly Age of Sigmar thing we saw as
new race
punters. Yeah, I can't remember if it's them or the Karazron that came first. I think they came similar time.
That's a good question. I know the Ironjaws and the Fire Slayers came the year before.
But they were a huge departure, were they? Really?
No, exactly. That's just Slayers and Orcs. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, it might be Caradron and then Ideneth.
So it's like, I guess that opportunity of the Age of Sigmar's offering the designers and the creators there is huge. I think we've mentioned it several times on the show, and you don't have to answer this at all. It's just a comment rather than a question. But we've said it on the show a few times that we feel the standard generally of the miniatures and the stuff we're getting for Age of Sigmar compared to 40k, we find it more exciting on the whole. Obviously that's going to change and peaks and troughs, but I do wonder how much of that is down to that real shackles off ground up creative process now. I think it's comparable to really like anything. If you have any kind of framework
that you're working from. Well, I guess you do either way, but with 40K, it's very established. Whatever it is, it's going to be pretty well established. And with AOS, it's definitely not. And for like you say, with a lot of these armies, the whole point is to create something new. And even if you want it to be kind of readable and relatable and understandable, you still want it to feel new and to be its own unique thing. So I think for any designer to be given that that freedom and that opportunity to just create, and especially at the concepting stage, because it's like you're just drawing things, you're just coming up with cool ideas. I think if you're tasked with, I don't know, coming up with a new Space Marine unit, you probably know from the start, like, they're not going to have hang gliders. We're not going to do a Space Marine hot air balloon.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I don't know. We've got a fucking go-kart.
Now that I said that, you do have a point. Yeah.
We got Nerf guns, so why not hang gliders?
Yeah, why not hang gliders? Yeah, actually, that's probably. I might have spoiled something.
They would never have. Seems to have gone out the window now with Space Marines.
They would never have.
Why not just give it? Yeah.
Space Marine surfboards is for sure coming. I mean, it has to, right? They're riding wolves. They're actually riding wolves. Anyway, so I think with this, like, especially coming in on the Ideneth project, and I was seeing a lot of those models for the first time. They were like, so these guys are riding sharks, and that's a floating turtle. We don't know if it's made of magic or if it's like an actual physical turtle floating on magic. I was like, cool. So just like in real life, right? You have both kinds. It's just, I get that. And these the elves that I'm painting, so they don't have eyes because they don't have souls. Yeah, well, I've got a friend like that. It's funny. Yeah, I can dig that.
Yeah, it was a really. It's a great range. We've mentioned it before, actually, Ardneth. Like, why haven't we seen a bigger expansion of it? Because it does feel like it was such a good example for someone's like, so what's this Age of Sigmar thing you like then? And you're like, right, here you go. Whoosh, look at these elves on these, and they get it then, right?
And I mean, the answer to that is like, because they're busy with other stuff. There's so much. I mean, the Caradron is the same way. The Fire Slayers too. Like, it's not a bad concept. It just needs more attention, and I guess that's going to happen at some point. But I agree. There's you can look at a lot of those ranges and feel like this has potential. This could be really good.
I think so. And it didn't feel like there were many like that before they started to get more stuff at release. I think when a new army comes out now, you're spoiled for the amount of kits. And even when you get things like the recent Seraphon release, that's not just a little extra character model. That's a enormous amount of miniatures. So I think I think it bodes really well. But you mentioned there the sort of that freedom of the designers to just start sketching, just start throwing ideas and seeing what sticks. Is there what is the involvement like from the Eavy Metal team when it comes to things like the color schemes for this and that? Is that something generally led from that team? Is it much more of a collaborative thing, or is it a lot more prescriptive from the designers?
I think it varies a bit from project to project, but it's this is maybe not a question for me personally, but I can tell you who should answer it. And it's basically, the short answer is that it is Eavy Metal all the way. It's supposed to be.
Cool.
The colors that's kind of the property of Eavy Metal, is to develop all the colorways and variants and how everything works and how it fits into the world. And then that's always fed back and forth between the miniature designers and managers with various other titles. And then also the writers. So the people writing the rules in the background, they also have some say in how all of these things work together. So like the Cities of Sigmar is a good example, because it's the Cities of Sigmar. It's like designing not just what the soldiers are, what their helmets look like. It's also all the shield designs, the colors, how those colors work across not just an army, but a giant physical space that's inside the
the mortal realms. Yeah, so I think, like I said, it's supposed to be just heavy metal, like the kind of final say, but it's everything has a little bit of a collaboration going on.
But that's a really nice thing to hear. I remember when they started doing some of the articles on community. I think it might have been what were those orcs called that came out with the latest edition, the Cruel Boys, the swampy orcs. And there's a great article. I can't remember whether it's White Dwarf, whether it was community, where I think it was Max. Certainly, someone from the studio was talking about coming up with all the colors and all the literally a new skin tone for orcs, a new things like that. And it's nice to think that that heavy metal is more than just the really good at coloring in team.
Yeah,
it's
no, and it's been that it's been kind of that responsibility has been taken more and more seriously, I think, over the years. And now it was Max who was talking about that in the article, because it was Max who did that work for the Cruel Boys, and it's usually Max who does that for a lot of the new ranges. And that is definitely like someone who takes that job very seriously, and that process kind of gets almost better and better, because there's more to do, there's more to develop, and it gets more refined. Now you have these like the Cruel Boys had this perfect, I think it was in the White Dwarf, this kind of matrix of how to develop the skin tones with 3 different base coats, 3 different shades, 3 different highlights, mix and match as you wish, and then different recipes for like cloth and stuff. And I mean, everyone on the team got that as like a little dossier of here's how we paint the Cruel Boys. So that process also, I think, has gotten, like I said, more refined. It used to kind of be, well, this is black. We all know how to do black. It's black, Codex Gray, Fortress Gray, we're done. But now it's sort of very, very like the R&D process.
Codex Gray.
Yeah, I know, right? Good old days. And that's been really cool to see, and also to be a part of, which I've been fortunate enough to do for a few projects. I've had a big kind of hand in doing the R&D, but also just kind of watching him do it, I guess.
Well, that leads to, as I said, what's your first project? I think that kind of leads on to what's your favorite project that you got to work on?
Angron.
Angron.
Yeah, has to be.
Hey, we've got a picture of it up, so that's nice. Do you want to just tell us? Yeah, we do. Yeah, it's up for everyone.
Oh, there it is on the slide thing. Yeah, sorry, I'm not. Yeah, so that was.
Right, I've been doing this for 3 years. I'm still shit at it, mate. Don't worry.
So basically, I don't know. There's only so many demon Primarchs, and it was really intimidating that anyone was going to do it, and I thought it would be fun, but like I don't think I'm good enough. I don't think I want to tackle a big model like that. But then it was just a case of like, well, just jump into the deep end. It'll be fine.
So did you have to put your hand up for it then?
Yeah. That's kind of how it works for a lot of projects. Is like we don't obviously get to decide, but sort of. If you raise your hand for a model like that, then there's a good chance someone else will too. But if you do it really early, and if you behave, if you hit your deadlines and you're helpful, it's that sort of a thing. So and I mean, they know how to make use of that. Like I said, pretty much when I started, I was like, if you guys are ever redoing Sisters of Battle, just tag me in. And they were like, you know what? There's some really rough sketches that you can have a look at over here. And so my name was like in that hat from when I was, before I was kind of ready to do that stuff. So that was quite useful for them to know that this guy really gives a shit about these things. And so if it turns out that he's not terrible at his job, then maybe let's let him do that, because that excitement and that energy is going to be useful for Games Workshop, right? And Angron was like that too. It was just like, I don't know why I'm drawn to this thing, but I want to paint this model, and I just like the character.
I was listening to the book, the Black Library book, because they've done one on each Primarch. I think it's called Angron, Slave of Nyceria, or whatever his homeworld is. Yeah, and like just kind of trying to saturate my fragile mind with as much Angron information as possible.
But that's very encouraging to hear. So the sisters that you just mentioned, that's sort of my current, something I was doing for work, and has now become an obsession. And as you say, I'm reading a sister's book when I go to bed. I've got sisters audiobooks on when I'm painting, and it's that we mentioned it before, like one of the huge bonuses or benefits Games Workshop has with its settings is you can immerse yourself in them in many, many ways. I mean, Andy's recent Eldar army came out of sitting in his pants playing Dawn of War for a few days. It's that kind of thing, right? There's so many ways to get
it was winter. It was tracky bees.
Oh, there you go.
Pants now.
So, but yeah, I think that's how cool is that though, to be able to go in and go, yeah, I really fucking like Sisters of Battle, so if you ever do them again, you give them to me, please.
Yeah, that was literally it. And they were like, okay, yeah, we'll see. And then every time, every step that we came closer to having to do work on that, they were like, you want to tag along to this meeting? And then you sit in a meeting and they talk about the different orders, and I was like, the thing with the Prioris, like, and because I actually got that second edition book and I just like read it cover to cover because I thought that's something that someone should do if they're going to paint Sisters of Battle. Yeah. And that was great. It was great. It was awesome to think that someone who's but when we do this, whoever's doing it should write like that. What's the deal with their hair colors for all the main orders? We should develop some new orders. We should make sure that we've got updated transfers for all of them so that they look good. All of these things, and it's just awesome to be able to be that person and do that yourself. Like that was my job for a few months.
That's absolutely rad. And then fair play with Angron. Like we've said, like when you get these iconic characters, whether it's an updated version of it, which I guess it kind of is with Angron. We have had an Angron mini before, but it was very small and about 35 years ago. Like that's something to be very proud of. I think as you've moved on from Eavy Metal now. Obviously, that's why we're able to talk to you about it. But there must be a huge amount of not only professional pride around it, but that we're all Warhammer nerds as well, right? At the end of the day,
for
so
sure.
to get to go look back and go, oh yeah, that was I had to go at that.
No,
and chances are he's not being redone for a while.
Ever. 30 years minimum.
Well, but surely, as we go on, models will last longer because the technology's got, it's got good, and it must slow down how much better sculpting can be. So, we're talking about metal models. We'll never do metal again. So yeah, I think what I'm trying to say is I think as like models that are coming out now will last longer than ever because they're so good, right? Yeah, and that's a bit of a different topic.
There's a good chance. No, but it's a good point because I think that kind of ties into a little bit what you were saying with like why haven't they done any Idonist stuff, because they've been doing other stuff. It's the same with like why aren't they doing a new Angron model 10 years from now? Well, because they're going to do other shit. They're going to be busy.
It's also nothing wrong with it, right? I actually wanted to know sort of some questions about Angron, like how long did you get to spend on such a massive project like this?
I think I'm not 100% sure, but I believe it was 41 or 42 days, something like that. So about 8 weeks.
That seems quick,
right? Depends on who you are.
Did that feel like enough? Like how does that 8 weeks feel on a project? Like this?
Honestly, this was like one of the few projects. Well, it's always a bit stressful at one point or another, but I've had projects where even from the start you say this is not enough time, like this is not going to work, and this was not really that. I planned it out as best I could. I tend to do that with projects to see kind of is it doable. I don't know if everyone does this, but with full work days it was quite easy to just go like, well, I've got these 7.5 hours a day. I think I can do. Yeah. I mean, with Angon, it's a bit difficult, but like you can estimate, right? It's like, okay, I need to. I did a lot of airbrushing on that model, so like all the armor panels. Okay, I can airbrush those in so and so many hours, and I can do wings and yeah. The armor panels are also quite. It's really cool the way it's sculpted. Darren Latham sculpted it, and it's really nice because most of the armor panels is just one separate piece. So I had like his armor set, almost like a little set of armor, like a suit of armor on a little stand, with his breastplate separate and his greaves and his and it was that so yeah. Anyway, that made it quite easy to plan out how I was going to break down those 8 weeks. And
how
then
many
it's just
pieces did you paint it in? Sorry. How many pieces did you paint it in, do you think?
Oof, I mean, like 20. I don't know. I do a lot of sub-assemblies, and it gets a bit ridiculous. But with a large model like that, it was easier. But still, like pretty. I mean, it's one model. When I painted I did 10 Votan, the regular infantry guys, the Hearthkin. I did sub-assemblies for them, and that was 10 models and like 6 pieces each. That my desk was completely ridiculous trying to keep track of everything. I wrote the numbers and things, but with Angon, it's just like, you know.
When you did that, sorry, just when you did like the 10 dudes, so it's 60 pieces, and you're doing 10 heads, 10 guns. Did you do it all like, right? I've got 2 days. I'm gonna do all 10 heads in 2 days, or whatever the time scale is. Did you do it all as like bulk? So I'm gonna do all the bolters, then do all the heads, then do all the armor, then all the that sort of thing, or did you do it individual model or?
A little bit of both. I find that the only way to not go completely insane and just the right kind of insane is to mix it up a bit. So I would probably, I think with them, I airbrushed the fatigues and then the armor, and I masked it off, and I did that, and then I went in and I did like I think I did 5 at a time. So I think I finished the fatigues on 5, then finished the armor on the same 5, then maybe did some details on those 5s. And then I went back, did the other 5, and then maybe I did 3 heads, and then another 3 heads, and another 3 heads, something like that. Because cool. It's kind of whatever works. I think some people are really committed to their version of bulk painting or batch painting. When you do like, I'm going to do 10 bolters, all the first highlights on one, and then the second highlight on the next, and so forth. And that's just, if you love doing that, then good for you. Crazy person.
It's quite an interesting topic that comes up quite a lot when people are painting. You're painting something in bulk. It's how do you do it? Do you? I know people that paint the individual models and go, right, I'm going to paint this 10 times and just go round and round and round and round, and that's the.
And that works well, doesn't it, Rich?
Yeah, real well. But then I know that some people do the other way, and they go, right, like you said, I'm going to do literally this one edge highlight on every single one of them. This edge highlight on it, but then there's some that kind of sit in the middle of it as well.
But I think, honestly, that's, you guys do really good tutorials, both, well, especially Henry, but Andy as well, on like army painting, where I think that comes up, where it's like this stage, do this on half an army or an entire squad or whatever it is. And I think it's pretty clear where that makes sense to do, and where you might be like, I'm going to do a bit of weathering on just this model. So I'll go in and do the chipping, and then I'll do this thing and this thing. That kind of, it becomes, I guess, a bit more sort of logical and organic once you start doing it.
I think so. I think there's an element of experience, but there's also, now we're so fortunate that we have so many people talking about how they go about their painting, aren't we, on whether it's socials or YouTube or whatever. But talking about numbers of things, I'm assuming that the most of something you'd have to paint would be what would come in a box, would it? So would
10
you?
Or something.
Would it be 10? But I was thinking 10, but then actually you've got things like the Soulblight Gravy Lords release, where I think you've got 20 or 30 zombies, for instance, in a kit, models. So would you be expected to do that?
Very rarely, I think. And again, this is like from my experience working the years that I have. It might have, whatever was before then was kind of crazy, and whatever's going on now, I can't really speak for. But very rarely would you do more than 10 of anything, and it would definitely be split up over more than one person either way. So yeah, like if you're doing those zombies 30 to a box, you'd have at least 2 people working on that set.
Cool.
Which kind of makes sense when there's multiples as well.
True.
But occasionally it will be something like, I don't know, 9 models in a Underworlds warband or a Warcry warband, and that will be one person doing the whole thing. So it's a little bit different, but yeah, you're right. It very rarely will it be more than 10 models or something like that.
This wasn't on the question sheet, but I'm just thinking now. If you've put your hand up for Angron, and they've said, "Yeah, sure." You've planted yourself in the Sisters of Battle revamp.
Yeah.
So you're doing really well so far. Like this is going great. What was one that you stuck your hand up for, and they said, "No, sorry, this one's basically." What was one that got away? What was one you?
Oh, the one that got away.
And that could be something that's come out during your time there, or it could be something that's come out that we've seen since, or it could be something that's come out before your time there. But what's that one that you wish? I definitely should.
Oh, okay, right. So it's kind of 2 questions here. Is there something that I said I wanted to do and didn't get to do? And is there something that I didn't do? Because
that's just me looking for drama.
Okay,
this is like what's the one you wish you could have done?
No, we can get into drama, man. I'll tell you. I've got some shit. No, no. I think I've been really fortunate in what I've asked to do and gotten to do is very often the same. I think it's funny when you have those rundowns of new models coming out and someone's like, I want to do everything. It's like, you're not going to do that. That's stupid. Just say one thing and you might get to do that. But no, there's definitely a few things that I wanted to do that I couldn't because I just was working there. And that's like Cursed City was very much one of those projects. Right. It would have been incredible to work on Cursed City. Dominion would have been fun. Indomitus would have been fun. That kind of stuff is a bit like, I don't know, there's always going to be opportunities to paint a thing, even if you don't get to do the box art. Like the nice thing about both of those, I mean, I can paint all the Stormcast I want. I just didn't paint the ones in the box. But with Cursed City, because everything there feels like really unique and really, I know that the development process for that was really fun and cool. And I know Max did a lot of not only design work for the miniatures and their color scheme, but also other design work. And that would have just been really fun to be a part of. So it's kind of stuff like that. But I'm also quite happy that I didn't have to work on the Ossiarch Bone Reapers. So, yay.
Yeah. What was the least enjoyable thing you had to do, even if it was just like because there was 10 of them or 60 parts, or it was a Bone Reaper?
Oh man, what was the least enjoyable? That is a good question.
What about all the skulls of Angron? Like that's a lot of skulls.
It's a lot of skulls. That was a fun few days, man. I like just listening to like Cannibal Corpse and getting into it. Yeah, Skull Week. No, it was, I don't know, even Angron, even that was, I kept thinking like, it's just one of everything. Not literally because there's 120 skulls, but it's just the one model. Whenever you're painting like a squad of something, like I did those, the Ultramarines with the rocket pods that everyone loves, that have such well-designed proportionate weapons. Yeah, they're great. I did those 5. That was maybe not the most fun, but it's like 5 Space Marines. Anyone can paint 5 Space Marines. They're cool.
No.
Yeah. Ross is asking in the chat, with Angron,
dear God,
was it start to finish, or do other projects come in between it, or was it literally, as you say, 40-something days? Angron.
No, it's almost always just one project from start to finish. Yeah, that's but it's a good question. The only time it would be different is if you do that kind of R&D project development work. You will start doing that before you do any actual painting, so you'll have like an overlap. But with so I did a bunch of color tests for Angron. We use Photoshop a lot and just do sketches and kind of just blocking colors, which for something like Angron was sort of useful. It was actually really good to see where. Yeah, exactly. I was like, I think red. I think he's probably going to have some sort of a coppery bronze armor. I've got some crazy ideas, but it was still good to see like where can I put the the turquoise, the tealy colors. And can I get that nice kind of triangle? How much of it can I put in the sword? Can I do it on the wings? How much can we play with verdigris? So it's always really good to have that before. That gives a lot of, like, that takes a lot of the stress and the worry off of how something is going to end up. Is just having, like, well, there it is. I've got a picture of it. It's got the colors where I want them. I'm good.
Awesome.
What was the question? Oh yeah, and for stuff like Seraphon, that phase is fantastic. Because like I did color tests for Croxigors, and I just did like 20 that I knew we weren't going to use just for fun.
Oh no, I've done 20. Oh no.
Yeah, exactly. Just sat there painting Croxigors in Photoshop and doing patterns and shit, and it's like, this is just great. They're paying me to do this.
That's been just such a bizarre, unexpected adoration of a release, that one.
Right?
I just never thought it was, never in a million years was like, I've never even painted a lizard man until we did that tutorial recently. And then to go from like 0 to 1,000 in like one release, and just everything at the moment with work going, oh, I wish I was painting a Seraphon. I wish I was doing Seraphon.
I told you you do. Oh, I'm not going to do it. Just do the army.
Well, well, I mean, today's announcement has opened up a large part of my schedule, put it that way. So I think we might see some lizards. But yeah, that's Ask another question, Andy, because I want to think about how to frame this one. Hang on. So I'll go mute for a minute.
Well, I was going to ask you a few questions about just some Golden Demon stuff, which I guess is a bit of a new section.
Oh yeah, I did that too, didn't I?
Yeah. Well, obviously now you are not working for them. You can enter again, and we've seen a few entries from you now. I wanted to know just what sort of your plans. Do you really want to sort of really go for it and enter a bunch of stuff? Like, what's your feelings towards the competition now? You can enter.
Ooh, that's a tricky one. I mean, I want to enter for sure. I think having worked there, I've also worked with the competition itself. And yeah, again, like, I mean, I know that Max is very heavily involved in competition, and he and I did a lot of work together with things like the rule set and the guidelines and stuff. And so kind of knowing that and having been part of that, the competition as an event and like an institution is even more important. It doesn't just happen. It's something that someone does. And so I'm like really committed to it being good and to always going. But as far as like competing, I want to paint as much as possible, and I'm happy to enter whatever I've done. I think it's great. We were recently at a Golden Demon, and we had a lot of good opportunities to talk about the kind of potential disappointment and the stress of competing versus the potential of not winning anything.
The nerves stood in the queue, just waiting to go into the auditorium.
Yeah, exactly.
Stood there being like.
And I remember, like, literally, you two I was just stood there, like, why do we even? Why? Like, is this actually worth it now? Like, literally, is it worth it? And I remember kind of having this sort of good soundbite in my head, which was like, if the disappointment of losing is bigger than the excitement and the pleasure and the happiness you get from actually making your entry, then don't enter.
Wow, yeah, great statement.
Good, right? Should put that on a t-shirt. Anyway, I did also have to tell myself that because I didn't win anything. So I did ask myself that kind of question, like, is it that bad to lose that I don't have to do this? But no, it's fine. I still love painting, and I'm super happy with the thing that I painted, and I did almost entirely paint it for Golden Demon, which means I got a good deadline. I got all that motivation. I got to send all these horrible work in progress photos to my tiny friend who was doing a much better job than myself. So
we'll come on to your mortal enemy later.
Yes, please.
But, yeah, it's really interesting, you guys talking about the nerds with all that, and it's lovely to have you on, in that you have been involved in that professional capacity in Demon, because, and we've talked about it on the show, and I think anyone watching knows that we're big fans of it, we're big supporters of it, but we're also quite opinionated on it, and I think there's an element as well of, we talk about how good you want Demon to be, and you talk about how important Demon is, and how it should be better, and it should be this, that, and the other. And I think therefore, personally, I think you individually have a responsibility to it. And it's that whole, if you build it, they will come type thing. But also, if the great painters aren't going, if they aren't putting their hands up, if they're just finding a reason not to do it, then it will never be anything. But when you have, I mean, this year's the other way. I can't believe it was only 2 weeks ago. It feels ages ago. But if that can be the beginning,
a month, wasn't it, mate?
Was it? But if that can be the beginning of the next chapter in Golden Demon, it's crazy exciting.
Yeah.
And again, to have the commended people up on stage like we spoke about in the last episode, but therefore to have you all herded in like cattle, you're all on the front few rows of the theatre, you're practicing your disappointed face, that type of thing. It's that stress and that pressure and is great, but it's important that you're there seen to be there, going through it and doing
yes
it. And Andy always talks about the importance of staying relevant when you are a visible competitive painter. And I do. I'm not articulating this perfectly, but I'm just saying, like, it's, people need to show up and do these comps as much as complain that they're not that good on the internet.
Yeah, for sure.
And it felt like that this year. It felt like there was almost this sort of this effort from the people going, the 1,000+ people that entered. That were going, no, fuck you, Golden Demon is really important to us. Like, you put it on and we're going to turn up. And you had the team that did the judging and did the setting up from it, who were there for a silly amount of hours, making sure that everything got looked at and judged and all the rest of it. And I don't know how true it is, but it did feel for a little while like there was a real danger of Demon just almost fading away.
It felt like it could go at some point.
It did. It felt like a real risk. That
I think that feeling is not entirely unfounded. I mean, this is really like kind of inside stuff that I don't actually know too much about or should say anything about. But it's, I think there's been that kind of uncertainty about like whose responsibility is it? Does anyone actually give a shit? And so what you say about just attendance, like people showing up with that good, the level of stuff that they had. I mean, I was thinking about that with this year being 7 months after the last one. And guys like, David Aroba showing up with his three entries this time, which all of them won, like, I think, what was it, 2 golds and a silver? And it was like, so you did that in the last 7 months? Like, not only are you quick, but just the ambition and the motivation and the drive to actually go to Golden Demon again. And him and 800 other people. And just the amount of stuff in the cabinets that I was like, this is 10 times better than I will ever be. And I can't believe all these people are still doing this and going to these competitions. And well, I can't believe it because I'm doing it, but it's exactly like you say, that has to happen for Golden Demon to be good, and it's continuing to happen. So it is really, really like just inspiring and cool to see. And again, that also ties into like your potential disappointment of not winning. Is like, well, do you want to be by far the best painter there? Like in my case, do I want to be easily the best painter there? Like, no, of course not. That would suck.
I think that was
no
the
easy
interesting
wins, right?
thing about this one is like there was 75 commended entries across all the categories, which like could have been in the runnings for something, which is crazy.
Absolutely. And now we've got a year till the next one. Well, we assume we've got a year to the next one.
We assume.
So
yeah.
So
it might be anywhere from 3 weeks to 10 years. I mean, we'll see.
I mean, I was kind of going to ask, like, how do you feel it's changed, and what do you think, the state of it is? You kind of answered that just talking then, but is there anything else like you'd like to add of just watching it like grow from 2017 maybe when you started, and just to this one, like, just have you got any more thoughts on that?
I guess the only thing is that it's been interesting to see it, that competition exist and take place alongside or separate of other events. So basically, it used to be Games Day. It used to be Games Day and Golden Demon, and that was like synonymous. And we would go on a Sunday, and that was just it. And then they changed it to Warmerfest, which was just another name for Games Day. It was pretty much the same thing. But with all the what we call the mini demons and everything going on, it was like it can be something else. It can exist somewhere else, but is that as good? And with those, maybe not. But with the one in October last year, which was all Golden Demon without Warmerfest, without anything else, I think we all kind of felt like, well, yeah, this is great.
Amazing.
Now it's just like World Model Expo, but all Warhammer and tinier. And also with like Adepticon. It's like Adepticon is an All Games Workshop. So is that a problem? No, not at all. Golden Demon can exist there too. That's great. So I think it's maybe a little bit speaks to the quality of the competition and the providence and people caring about it. But it's nice as well because it means that if nothing else, we can hope for a Golden Demon as a separate event again. Even if Warmerfest doesn't ever happen again, or even if I don't know. Even if.
Did you ever get
how
to
would
judge
you feel
it?
about that?
Sorry, Henry.
No, go on, just...
Did I get to judge? Is that what you're going to say?
I was going to say, did you ever get to judge the Golden Demon? Yeah, once.
Just once. Yeah, it's great. Matt Kennedy won the Slayer Sword. My job here is done.
Oh, that one. Yeah.
That one.
Yeah, cool, man. But what were you saying, Henry? How would you feel about Golden Demon being on its own?
Yeah. I think it's an interesting. We were sort of talking about.
I don't want it.
Just chatting, but and it may be that actually that's a large conversation to have. So perhaps we'll worry about that in another chat. I think.
Yeah.
I'll say in one sentence that my favourite one was the previous one, and that's because it felt part of something bigger and it made it more grandiose. And for me, I loved it. It was the best ceremony. And you cannot have that ceremony in Warhammer World on a 2-foot high wooden stage.
Yeah, I agree with that. The ceremony was the best thing about Warhammerfest this year and about Golden Demon in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
Terrifying,
so good.
But fun.
Yeah, but it's not like, at least they just made the kids go up first. So pressure off everyone else, didn't it?
I did notice that with Rich and Andy in the middle, I was kind of lined up for a good stage dive. I thought I might do that if I won something, but I didn't. So we've still got that to try out next time.
Well,
try that one next time.
Speaking of, so Matt has set the bar high now for celebrations. I think.
Yes, he has, because he's a superstar.
Shy of literally like kicking your opponents off the stage and then just grabbing and snogging Adam Trope. I think it's going to take.
Just wait.
It's going to take.
That was amazing.
It was the living version of that meme of the dude that's like third and he's giving it all that with a champagne and it's in the girls and everything, wasn't it? It's incredible.
I've got someone I want to kick off that stage, and he's a good kickable size.
He, to be fair, he would go some distance, I imagine, if you.
He would indeed.
Right. Were there any more questions, Andy, that you wanted to cover?
Yeah, I guess I wanted to know, now you're not working on the team, have you got any intentions to work professionally in painting, either full-time or part-time, or do you just want to become a hobbyist? Basically just a general, like, what's up for you next, I guess.
We'll see. I've got like a few ideas cooking that I'll show it when I can put it on a plate and serve it. It's right now I'm absolutely happy to work with painting and as a painter. that's the answer to that. Like professionally, doing this is great. I was clearly wrong about working with your hobby. You should absolutely do that, whatever your hobby is. But yeah, like commission painting is okay. Stuff like this is okay. I do a little bit of like coaching now, which is quite fun. It does take a certain, I don't know, arrogance maybe to actually allow yourself to charge money to tell people how to do this.
Yeah, I found it weird. Start, I'm okay.
Here I am.
Yeah, you got over that fairly quick. Yeah,
right. I mean, money is nice, so like there's that.
Yeah, but it's also learning to value yourself. There's a lot of great painters out there. There are nowhere near as many good teachers out there. You know,
especially with your planning colour experience, I think that's really interesting. All the experience you've got, I think you've got to be great for that sort of thing. But yeah, so you think you will be doing some work in the painting world in the future?
I hope so. Yeah.
Exciting.
Yeah. I wish I had a much better answer for that.
Watch this space.
Exactly.
No, but it's it's good. It's good to hear though that you're not like, no, fuck me, I had to get out of there and I never want to paint a miniature again in my life. Like that's a good thing. It's a good thing to.
No, I don't know if anyone actually thinks that I left Games Workshop because I hated it, but I loved almost everything about it, and I'd love to go back. It was just not very practical with living in another country and stuff. It's a short, boring non-answer, but it really is just that. For anyone wondering, like, I didn't leave because it wasn't great. It was awesome.
Is it just you wanted to live in Sweden? Was it you wanted to stay home and
something? Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
And if you want to know the real answer and the actual drama behind it, one of the most shocking things that's ever happened in heavy metal, check out the Patreon exclusive interview we'll be doing with Martin. I'll tell you.
There's a new tier, I believe. There's like a £75 tier. This is what Andy was saying. It's awesome. Yeah. There's a whole new strategy.
The drama tier.
The drama tier. Yeah. Right. Well, was there anything that we haven't covered that you wanted to talk about, Martin, or we good?
Because
it is already an hour and a half, nearly.
Yeah. The last time I was on someone's podcast/stream, we talked for 5 hours, and then my mouth got very dry, and I just had to hang up.
It's a struggle. You can always talk for ages on these things. 90 minutes is tight because I could talk for
90. When there's 5 of us, I mean, I've barely spoken to Matt all the evening. How you doing, Matt? What's up?
Good. You?
Nice. There we go.
Box tick.
That's a meme. That's a meme.
Well, I think it's fairly safe to say if you'll come back on, we'll definitely have you back on in the future to talk about some more specific subjects rather than necessarily just about heavy metal and stuff like that. But thanks ever so much for just talking about your time there. I think without dropping anybody in it and just giving a little bit more of an insight, because as I said, it's this is a very niche part of a niche hobby, part of and I think people here would. There's a lot of people here that have probably sat there painting a model wondering whether they're good enough or whether they can aspire to go for heavy metal. And I think you're a great example of just back yourself,
that's a
fair
good way to put it.
Getting in as well and just going, give me that. Give me that, I'll deal with it. It's like,
it took a while, but eventually I was like, that guy. Also, I do want to point out, because you said we were going to get to this, and this is important. If you can, at some point in your hobby journey, find a mortal enemy, a nemesis, someone that you can just hate with every fiber of your being when you're painting, and that can drive you and inspire you to be better, there's a tiny chance that you might actually
I wouldn't call him tiny. I would say below average height, but not tiny.
I'm talking about his character.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
This is someone I've only ever met introduced in this capacity as well. So as far as I'm concerned, they're a terrible
all he
person.
Deserves, I think.
But a phenomenal painter, a very winning painter as well. I know. Well, anyway,
how do you mute this thing? Hold up. Yeah,
that's for a different conversation. So let's move on and have a look at what a couple of other painters have been up to on the Paint Cultist thing. So if you want to expose yourself to some different styles of painting, maybe some different miniatures, some different companies of miniatures, all that sort of thing, check out the hashtag Paint Cultist, largely over on our Instagram. It's also on the Discord as well. And there's just tons of cool stuff in there now. 25,000 or something, I think it's up to now, which is awesome. And all I'll do is grab a couple of them and chuck them up at the end of episode that have caught my eye and try to remember why I did so. Yeah,
it's a small animal.
Tip of the iceberg. Chances
usually
are
a critter.
Yes, usually a critter. Hey, look, you could have Rich do it, it'd just be Space Marines. You know, you could have Andy do it, just be L's. You could have Matt do it, just be spreadsheets. So, what you take your pick. What's up first?
Oh, this is so good.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, this guy is great.
Oh.
It was on the community article, wasn't it? And it was like, I thought it was probably the best one, to be honest. But the way he's done the brown scales, and they're super detailed, like crazy. But yeah, this guy is really, really good.
Yeah, they featured a few times now in arcs. And yeah, it's an account I really, really enjoy their take on stuff.
Yeah. This is spot on. It's so detailed. Like loads of stippling on the skin, right? Yeah.
These Saurus minis are so fucking good. Like, so good. Like, they're the best thing I've built in ages. They're the nicest thing I've painted, like, to paint in ages. The
shield design
the
isn't hell to paint.
Everything about them is just quality.
But
yeah,
that's a skink, right?
It's big skink.
It's a big skink. Oh, okay. Sorry.
It's big skink. They grow up to become big like this. But speaking of skinks, though, is that the next slide? Possibly.
You'd think I would put them in order.
Is there
a skink coming?
Is it all lizards?
It's not all lizards. But yeah, lovely, wonderful painter. Great, definitely worth following this account, in my opinion. What's up next, Matt?
I just realized who that guy is. He's awesome, actually. Yeah, it is a skink, but sorry, he's a great guy. Just been pointed out to me that I've met him. He's awesome, and that skink is great.
And this actual skink is even cooler.
He always gets killed first. This is the one I always in Underworld to run in and get him killed. He's a sacrificial skink to get the objectives. Yeah. It's probably the worst one on the team.
Other than it being a super cool model and a lovely paint job, there's also massive respect to this account for doing this close up of a photo, because he's a teeny tiny model.
It is small,
and it's fab, like, to get a real meaty up close shot like this, and just see all them brush strokes, see all that work that's gone into it.
I remember Gavin's close up of his Blood Bowl skink. And we had that as one of the favourites, and we were like, "What the hell?"
I mean, I bet this thing just looks outrageous once you've got it at arm's length. Like, on the, it's.
I mean, look at the eye, man. It's grand.
Yeah. And just lots of lovely colours, and everyone should paint lizards. And if you're not, have a word with yourself. Lizards or Sisters of Battle, basically.
Hey, I'm gaming
or
with lizards,
GTFO. Mate. There we are. So super cool. And again, an account I'm not familiar with, so a nice find personally as well. All right, what's that next, Matt? Now this is I featured this account a few times since I found it, because I unashamedly adore what they do, and it's a little bit like the two Lord of the Rings accounts that we spoke about earlier.
This isn't Lord of the Rings, is it?
No, it's not. But this is that. Do you remember when I've shown ones before where it's been like a medieval town or a medieval street scene and things like
Ghostbusters?
That? It's this person, and that's Thingy from Ghostbusters.
Yeah, I was just about to say.
Just please check this account out, because it's just one of those, like, I quite enjoy painting that Warhammer Fantasy house. Oh, imagine if you painted a city. You don't have to imagine. Go and look at this person's account, because they've done it. And is
that the book from the Raven Wing Landspeeder?
Book from the Raven Wing. Oh, what, on the little?
Is it Master of the? What's he called?
Yeah, Samael on his little land. On his Landspeeder.
The original one, though. Yeah, the little metal book that you stuck on it.
Oh, that metal land speed is one of my favourite. No, that Ravenwing in particular. It's one of my favourite all-time miniatures. That.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just a very cool account. And again, I'd never have found it if it wasn't for the hashtag, which is because there's no Warhammer content on it. It's just cool medieval fantasy type towns and city scenes. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's Vigo the Carpathian from Ghostbusters 2. That's what it is.
Yeah.
That's dope.
So yeah, very, very cool. Right, I think there's a couple more.
2 more.
1, 2 more. Yeah. So
Nice.
there's your critter, and some fella as well on there. Big fan of this painter. Have been for quite a while, and I think if you've listened to more than 3 of these podcasts, you'll know we're a big fan of the sculptor, Lucas Pina. And I mean, yeah.
Looks a bit like you, Martin. The guy on the back. Oh, the guy in the back. Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
I bet you this one was fun. I bet you this was proper fun to paint.
I don't know why I didn't order it. Oh well.
Yeah.
I also missed out on that one, but I think you and I are both kind of in that sort of automatic order everything that Lucas does.
Yeah.
I found my stockpile of them the other day, and I haven't even opened the nice wrapper he sends it in. I'm like, bloody
oh yeah, no, me neither. I have a lot of them just on a shelf. I need to own them, but I haven't painted any.
Yeah.
Just got to paint one. I painted one, didn't I? That'll do.
Hope he does more sad trees.
Like more mercenaries. That's what we need.
Oh yeah. Yeah. But,
or just more him entering Golden Deep.
I was going to say him just casually entering.
Crazy thing.
Yes.
I didn't even know he was there. I was like, I didn't even know he was in this building.
No.
And he just gets a gold.
The
Speaking of Golden Demon getting better and better, that's what's so cool. These guys like Lucas Pina showing up out of the blue with a.
Yeah.
That was Lord of the Rings, Andy, that he entered, by the way. That was the Lord of the Rings.
Probably why
I entered Lord of the Rings.
Well, actually, The Hobbit.
With Mr. Anderson.
Oh, yes, Mr. Anderson.
You're the worst nerd ever.
The worst, aren't you?
I only like some things.
And then something very different for the last one. This is lovely piece.
That's cool.
Fuck, I've forgotten what it's called again as well. A relief? Does that sound right? Yes, I think that's what it's called. A relief.
These like flats in Monty, they called them, I think.
Right.
It's not a flat, is it?
I think it's a relief. He says
it's a relief.
He says in the description anyway. And also that he based it on his wife as well, which I thought was really cool. But that's just lovely. And yeah, the first time I come across this sort of thing was Monty, when we did coverage of it last year, maybe one of the years. We've talked about it on here anyway. They featured. I just thought it was a very, very cool, very, very sweet way of just what a nice little project, if that makes sense.
It's like a comic book square, doesn't it?
Yeah. And just even little things like the slightly rough black around the edge and again how it's presented on whatever that is it's on. I assume just a very close up wooden plinth. It almost looks like it's just stuck on a terracotta brick, it's got that look.
Or it's on an easel.
Or an easel or something. But
it's like the kitchen splash guard with a tile.
Yeah. But again, it's just reinforcing this whole, as much as we do adore Warhammer, and we really do, there is so much more that you can be doing with the miniatures painting if you want to. And people are, which is rad. So yeah. So that's the last of the picks. This one.
Good time.
So obviously you'll know that we are on a different channel if you're watching us right now. In fact, if you're watching us at all, and we mentioned on the last show why we wanted to do it. We've got ideas for other productions and films and things like that we'd like to do, and we felt that giving Culture of Paint its own platform to do it on would allow us a little bit more freedom to do that with. But if you do want to get hold of us, Cult of Paint's still very much there. You've got the usuals, the Patreon, the YouTube, the Instagram, the commissions, the Discord, all sorts of bits and bobs. There's a link tree. It's Cult of Paint on anything. So if you have got people you'd love us to get on as guests, if you've got subjects you'd like us to cover, if you've got memes, send them to Rich, please. That's Army of Test Models. If you send them to me, I will simply forget to answer you for about 2 weeks, then apologise and then forget again to put it in the show.
I don't look at my inbox.
So just give it to Rich, please, with that. Merchandise, again, if you want to annoy Rich with that, anything negative or demanding, if you could go to Rich on Best Models, and anything else, just any of the Cult of Paint accounts. But thanks ever so much, those of you that have made it over for the live show tonight. And we wouldn't be doing any of it without your support. So we really appreciate it. So thanks very much, chaps. Absolute pleasure. Thanks, Martin, for coming on. That was wicked. And we'd love to have
Thank
you
you.
if you're up for it. Possibly some kind of battle royale with you. STEM would be good fun.
Yeah. That sounds good.
Thank you. Lovely. Well, thanks, chaps. Thanks, chat.
Thanks, Martin.
Take care. We'll see you next time.